And so, like I said, when you put it in, you got to make sure you twist a few times and then pull. And that should actually make sure that you break the bridge and pop both eyes out at the same time. That's the only way to do it properly. And it works great on the altar.
Wow.
Indeed,
but did it create much of a
does.
mess?
Yeah, it kind of does. You get blood splatter everywhere. But you get a really cool effect. Oh, hi. I think we're live.
Uh-oh. Gee, I hope they
stop
didn't
talking
hear
about
that.
what I'm doing. We'll stop talking about what I'm doing this Samhain. Aww. We only get Zabora for an hour.
Why?
I don't know. But we have Zabora and Kawaii's Witch already here. Well, Comedic Witchcraft and Kawaii's Witch. It's just 3 are watching, but I'm pretty sure the 3rd one is me because I have the chat up. Oh, they have work.
Oh, have work. Oh, yeah. Having to pay bills is so important, huh? Want to have a roof over your head. Whatever.
Witches don't pay bills. I don't know what you guys are talking about. We cast a spell, get some gold, and there you go. So
there you go. That's it.
Yeah, that's my how it works. Sorry.
That's all right. Well, I'm pulling up the chat here so I can take a look.
It's part of our all cult benefits. So.
Yep, all cult.
Apparently, I'm not on that benefit plan yet because I haven't got paid any gold, and it's not summoning when I do the spells, so I might be screwing up somewhere. I don't fucking know.
Oh well, it comes with Canada. In Canada, you get free healthcare and free witchcraft benefits. So,
wow,
stupid Canada.
Stupid Canada. Comedic Witch sent we supposed to be in a cabin. She's talking about that video.
Oh God, oh man, I had nightmares about that video. Oh, that video scared me, and this video is another one of those 90 throwbacks. So.
Oh yeah. No, she's talking about the video that was made about her.
Oh.
Yeah. The person was referring to Kevin and socialitary Wiccans and being Kevin-based.
Oh, that person. The one that I have on perma-block.
Yes, exactly. The one everybody has blocked.
I'm left out now. I haven't got any stuff. Maybe I should try to poke, see if I can get attention too. then I can do a hashtag me too. So.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand the hashtag me too thing, but I will not post it on any of my social medias for very good reasons. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, really. I mean, I think it's a good thing to sort of build unity and bring attention to, because I think it's really important, like situations where Harvey Weinstein is, where he has so much power and influence that women feel like they can't do anything, you know, or there's no defense, like they can't really go to the police. So I mean, I think it was a good hashtag. The thing that pissed me off were the people who were saying that men couldn't do it. That pissed me off, because there's a lot of men who have suffered from sexual abuse. And,
yeah.
You know.
I don't think it's right to say that you guys can't. I think everybody should be able to say and do as they wish. It should not be a rule that, it's only for women. No, because men suffer from just as much as we do.
Exactly.
Yeah, I kind of went on a little Twitter rant about that and stuff, and
surprise, surprise. Dorian uses Twitter to air his dirty laundry.
Well, I like to maintain a healthy social environment for people who like to follow me. So some of that is kind of getting your hands dirty and a bit of dumbness. So.
See, the thing that gets me is you can't really, like, because I like to really explain stuff, and so if I start typing into Twitter, I only have X amount of characters, so I have to like chop it down, and then by the time I've chopped it down, it doesn't make any sense.
Nope.
So it's like, I'm not even gonna bother.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not posting mine anywhere. I think the only place I did was with Roleplay Site, but at the same time, I just don't feel comfortable talking about it because I know for me there'll be no justice.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, unfortunately, I don't want to dig up something that may hurt my mom, may hurt my dad or my siblings. I don't want to deal with that. So I just won't post it on my Facebook.
Twitter is a little funny that way because here's just one example. I used to have the whole rainbow flag thing in front of my profile, so it was very obvious. I took it off, and I kept talking the exact same way I do now, and I started being attacked by people. So as soon as I put myself out of a visible box and just as a normal person, Twitter was like, okay, now you're good for attack.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes I see stuff on Twitter that's just like, there was this one guy who tweeted something. He said that all skeptics, I mean, I'm paraphrasing it, but he said all skeptics make all SJWs into something. Basically, what he was doing was he was trying to say that all skeptics are hypocritical because they say that all SJWs are this way. And so I tweeted back to him, I said, but you're saying that all skeptics believe that, so you're being hypocritical.
That is true.
Yeah. So I mean, sometimes you can sort of, if it's a really brief statement, then you can kind of explain it. Cut it down to you're dumb. It's easy. I am not going to tweet out you're dumb.
I've thought about doing that a few times.
But who am I going to tweet that you're dumb?
A few people. I know we had a comment on last week's video from Mad. He's like, darn it, I missed it. Well, maybe if somebody, I don't know, logged into Twitter and noticed the little thing in their message box, or I don't know, looked on his YouTube more often. Yeah. I think we're in his notifications.
Yeah. Well, I've been in contact with him, and right now he's kind of he's just kind of in and out.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he might rejoin with us later on or show up, but it sounds like right now he's got other stuff to be concerned with. So.
Oh yeah. And I know everybody works and everyone despises life and paying bills, and I know I do. Though I have a very nice weekend next weekend where all I have to deal with is angry parents because they forgot to bring their own damn ID cards.
Nice.
You won't believe how many responsible adults that are over the age of 25 forget that they need to travel with a photo ID or a passport to places that require them because it's posted all over the site that you need to have this. No exceptions. And a high school ID will not, or a school ID will not get you in anywhere if you're over 18. Does it work at a club? Hell no, it won't work here.
Nope. I think the only thing that they will take is a California ID, passport. That's it. They're not going to accept anything else.
Yeah, for down up here for the convention, we can take a government-issued ID, driver's license.
Yeah, that's right.
And even our fun little permit cards, because instead of getting a piece of paper for your permit, here they actually print out an actual card because it's good for over a year.
Yeah.
And
so yeah, that's right. Or government issued ID they'll accept, like military ID.
Yep, we'll take military ID, passport. As long if you're under 18, we will take a high school ID or a school ID, or your parent can be your ID. But that's about it.
See, I took this parent, and it came me. See?
Yeah, pretty much. But mom has to have mom or dad has to have their ID on them in order for it to be validated.
Oh.
So we're assholes a little bit, but we just don't want to get sued.
Yeah. I'm gonna turn my camera off for 1 minute. I'll be right back.
Okay. He's running away from us, people. He doesn't like us. Quick, he's gone. We can talk crap. But no, so next week it's only going to be Dorian and Logan and whoever else they invite. Squeaky, 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 squeaky.
He's like, yes, I'm going to turn off my camera, but I'm going to leave my mic going.
What? Huh? What did you see? Did you hear some awful noises? Did you Did you hear the screams of pain and the thud of a body?
Close enough.
Close enough.
And next week's gonna be so much fun. A whole bro show.
Whole bro show. Oh, that's right. Loki's not gonna be around.
Time for us to get our wigs on, our beards on, and stuff like that. Get some good old beer and just bro it out.
We could do the show in our boxers. Drink beer, cuss. We could spit. We could burp. We could scratch ourselves in inappropriate places.
Don't you already do that?
Well, yeah, but we could be more obvious about it.
Sausage fest. It's in the chat room.
Fest.
And I just misread somebody's question about my washer. Sorry. My washer is leaking, and somebody just sent me a message asking if it was a top or a side loading one. And I totally misread it.
Oh.
All right, we got
his prostate is needing a look at. What?
Oh, the squeaking.
What's squeaking?
When you were when your camera was off, there was squeaking coming from your mic.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was closing. I was closing my window.
All right, so we got a new person in the chat room. I see Star Dancer 58. New person.
Hey,
well,
how's it going?
I looked at the page, and guys, we have 100 subscribers.
No, really?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
100 of you bastards watch us, and I'm a little terrified about that.
Are you sure? You better recount that.
I looked right at it.
Why would 100 people watch us?
I don't know, but they do. It's kind of terrifying.
That works for me. We have a little milestone now, so time to start getting some merch, get a Patreon, and just sell out like no tomorrow.
Merch.
Yeah.
What are we gonna sell as merch?
Human sacrifice tablecloths, used anthems.
Used anthems. Used anthems. This was the American flag anthem. We used it, and now we're selling it.
I'm still scared. 100 people watch us. That's like creepy stalkers.
Yeah, but in their defense, or to be fair, or to put it more accurately, we have 100 people subscribe to us.
True.
Doesn't mean 100 people watch us. It's like if you look at your subscriber count, and then you look at like your videos, how many people have watched them in like a week, those numbers don't match up.
Oh, let's see. We've had last week's video was viewed 71 times, at least.
That's close. That's close.
I'm still waiting to where we can be like EA coding and start making our own book about how to become a living god, like how to become a living pagan. We'll start doing all these weird, dark ritual stuff and like our T-shirts, middle of nowhere, talk really raspy.
We'll make up imaginary demons, make up our own language. And then when people don't know about it, we'll say, well, that's because it's been passed down from generation to generation to generation to generation. And we just happen to all three come together and just happen to be from all these various traditions. And this is what the ancients practiced.
I am from the Celtic Rainbow Tribe.
I'm a motherfucking Viking.
A motherfucking Viking?
Oh, fuck your moms. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh, great. Now we're not advertiser friendly anymore.
Yeah.
We never were. YouTube has made that clear with me already.
Wear Illuminati robes. Oh, you know what? We still need, because I guess we don't know if Matt's going to be around, but we still need to make those Illuminati cards. Now those we could give out or sell.
Yeah, we could.
Probably better to give them out though, because nobody would buy a card. But I think we should. I think we should have our own Heathen Haven Illuminati official Illuminati member of Heathen Haven card.
Yeah. Well, one thing we can start doing is we can get those made for whoever comes on as our special guest.
There you go. That's how you could earn your official Heathen Haven Illuminati membership card, is by being a member on our show. And people who've been on our shows, like Comedic Witch, we can give her a card. And C Stu, we can give him a card. So if there's, I don't know who's watching us right now, but if there's any artists out there and you have an idea for how we could design the card, let us know. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah. I mean, I can talk to somebody. I might be able to buy an old card printer off of some of the people I do the convention with, because we don't use the card printers anymore like we used to. Mm-hmm. So I might be able to get one for under $100.
No, we don't. No, we don't need to. No. We can create it in Photoshop, and it could be a digital thing, and people could print it out at home. It doesn't have to be like.
True.
You know, we don't have to have like actual cards made. It could just be like, you know, we'll have our little official stamp, an official everything, and then we'll put it into a digital format and send it to people. We're not going to spend $100. Fuck that. We're not going to spend $100.
I would, just because I'm a dork, and Soren probably would let me.
No, save your $100 and spend it on other stuff like, I don't know, food.
Porn.
Huh? Porn? Who buys porn? Are you still buying porn, Loki?
No.
Because if so, I got a couple of links I can send you. It's really, you don't have to pay for it.
Let's just say my phone, the memory card that I have put in here, I have the biggest memory card that I can afford in here because of the pictures of porn that my random friends send me, just because they want to see if I get shocked. So far, no. Nothing they've sent me has shocked me.
Anime, tentacle, nurse, midget, lesbian porn. Nope. It doesn't shock me anymore.
No, it doesn't. Very few things shock me anymore.
Yeah, really.
I mean, after watching all this shit on YouTube go down, just like, you know, I'm like desensitized to the world.
Yeah.
I just say everybody's a dumbass and go along with my life. And yes, Pornhub is a good place to look, but at the same time, it can give you a virus.
Ah, that's true. That's true. So if you do watch porn online, practice safe sex and put a condom on your mouse. Or in Loki's case, put a dental dam on her.
Oh wow!
A dental dam on her mouse.
I don't think I've ever actually. Okay, we have two of them because they were given out to us at a safe sex seminar because we were forced to go to it because we work for a college. I've never used one. I don't even know how to use one. And it came with instructions too.
It came with instructions.
And it also came with instructions on how to make a condom into a dental dam.
Oh, okay.
Think about that much. It involves scissors. So I think I have scissors. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I do.
Why would you use scissors to make it?
Because you have to cut the tip and the round part to stretch it out as a flat.
Oh, okay. So not the other end. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's one of those things that you look at, you're like, huh, that would probably explain why they don't really sell dental dams in a grocery store. I've been only able to find them in sex shops. But yeah,
Or
you
if
can
you ever
find
want to make
condoms.
if you ever want to make your local grocer really uncomfortable.
Yeah, you guys have dental dams.
Which aisle would I find your dental dams?
I know, because the condoms are right next to the tampons.
Old Wilbur, who's been working at that store for like 70 years, will be like, it's in the dental aisle. You're like,
Probably.
sir, I don't think you understand what I'm asking for. No offense, employee of the century, but
Oh dear fucking God.
I'm speechless. I cannot believe this. I'm just here being like, oh my God.
yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah, they don't know about stuff like that up in Canada.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, I'm just at that age where I just don't give a fuck, and that filter is gone. and my mom knows it, and she finds it hilarious. She's like, "You've turned into me."
You mean so at some point you had a filter?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
When I was younger, it was so hard for me to get into even swearing, because I would say a swear word and I'd be like, "I'm sorry." Now I'm just like,
see, I was born without a filter. I was born filterless, unfiltered.
oh, okay, comedic witch. I think if I ever saw that porn, I would probably have to gouge out my eyes. Anything with Donald Trump.
Trump and Melania. Oh no. Does that actually exist? Now I'm gonna have to look it up.
Well, have you guys even seen the Trump rump? That thing's like legendary by now. So.
No.
No, I don't look for
What is
Donald
it?
Trump porn.
Is it a gay porn?
Oh no, it's not porn. It's just a picture of Trump
Oh.
playing tennis, and he's like bent over.
Oh
No, don't want to see that.
No one needs to see that.
Yeah. There's some things I can just not see. It's one of those things that if you ever do see it, you'll never be able to unsee it. Exactly. Stardance 58's like, oh my eyes.
Oh yeah. Honestly, if it's something that will shock Loki, you probably shouldn't watch it. If it would shock like Logan, you shouldn't watch it. If Dorian says don't do it, you shouldn't do it.
Loki is our canary in a porn mine.
Oh, but you gotta remember, there's a difference between being shocked and being disgusted. Certain things I will still say, but it's not shocking, it's just gross.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, let's get off the porn wagon, and how about we jump on the in the name of Satan wagon?
All right. Okay, sounds good.
Alrighty. And can you all see this?
Hail Satan!
Alrighty. Let me know if I need to adjust the sound or anything.
I can hear it.
People were chained, they were beaten, they were stuck, cut, they were bled, and they would give themselves freely.
I remember just constant, absolute terror, and I can't explain how intense, how strong, how all-encompassing that terror is. Unless you do this, you're going to get killed. You're going to die. I watched them take the lives of children. I watched them take the life of my twin brother.
Oh, can you pause it for a second?
Yeah.
So I know we just got into this video, but if she witnessed something happening with children, did she go to the police?
Yeah, that's my question too, but none of these people ever do.
Yeah.
And I want to see proof if she had a twin brother, like birth certificate proof.
Yeah. So I mean, if she, that's what always gets me with these things is they'll make these accusations, and it's like nobody thinks like to ask them like, oh, what did the police say, or did you call the police, or whatever happened with that. It always frustrates me.
They begged by their actions to be killed. This is inhuman. It's absolutely inhuman.
I myself would like to go and fall back into a corner and say this doesn't happen. People simply don't believe that this stuff goes on.
If we don't.
So real quick, I'm going to say this much. Viewer discretion is definitely advised if they're showing dead animals, and they didn't even have that warning on this video. Because, dear lords, I have never seen any of these videos before that actually showed pictures like that. So if you're under a certain age or you're squeamish, I would probably click off this right now. You've been warned.
Wow, someone had a budget.
I just saw every symbol for the PlayStation controllers on here.
Yeah, and also the what was it, the guy from Iron Maiden, forget the character's name, Eddie, I think, Eddie from Iron Maiden. We saw a pentacle, all the various PlayStation symbols. Just whatever, just throw it all in there. What do you guys got in the art department? All right, throw it in there.
Make it twirl around in circles, and use a font that looks big and scary to put in the name of Satan.
Oh, and also the blue oyster symbol.
Oh yes, definitely.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Oh no, not Bob Larson.
Oh God.
The most it conjures images of medieval black masses or sinister deeds done for the devil. Simply said, Satanism is the belief that evil is excusable and attaining power to control people and circumstances is desirable. Whether you believe in a literal devil is not important in understanding Satanism's effect on our society. The evidence is in. Satan worship and satanic cults are growing rapidly, and adherents of these ideas are becoming more vocal and more dangerous. These symbols of Satanism are turning up everywhere, on walls, on clothes, on album covers, and even on bodies of murder victims. Law enforcement officials admit that satanic cults operate in nearly every community in America. Young children from Oregon to Massachusetts say they've been raped, tortured, forced to watch small animals killed during satanic ceremonies. School officials in many cities report high school students are forming satanic groups. A Chicago policeman told us satanic crime makes gang activity look like a nursery school. During this program, you will see the many sides of Satanism. You'll be shocked, and you may be tempted to turn away in denial of such unspeakable horror. If you think I'm exaggerating, watch closely. Listen to what is being done in the name of Satan.
So pause it for a second. So this is coming out of that 1980 satanic panic. So all this information that he gave us is bullshit. It's been found to be bullshit. So a lot of these, like the McMartin preschool case, the Oak Hill daycare center, All this stuff was proven to be bullshit. So these kids were taken into these rooms and interviewed by these quasi child psychologists who were also, you know, quote unquote SRA specialists, and they would just talk to these kids and get what they wanted to hear out of the kids, and the kids would say what they wanted to, you know, what the adult wanted them to hear. And these kids, a lot of the stories that they gave were incredibly fantastic, and the people who listened to them in the courtroom didn't even believe it. But there were a couple of instances, especially in the okay, so the McMartin preschool case, there was no conviction, but it was a very lengthy trial, and it was one of the most expensive trials in history, and it lasted, I think, for 7 years. It was a very long trial. So there was a man who was kind of at the center of it, and he was in and out of jail for those 7 years. Then the other one was the Oak Hill daycare center, and there was a child whose, upon inspection, their hymen was somehow something that happened with it, and so they had believed that she had been sexually abused or sodomized or something. So that's how the conviction actually went through with the Oak Hill daycare center. However, later on, the same doctor who examined this young girl also went in for a training or something, and then he saw a slide of a hymen that looked like the hymen that he had saw on this young girl, and found out that it was actually a natural formation that does happen every so often. It's not a very common thing, but it does happen that way, and so the case was overturned. But all this other stuff that they're throwing in is just, it's all nonsense. It's all bullshit. None of it was proven to actually be truthful and actually going on.
Hail Satan. Those were the words of Night Stalker Richard Ramirez. Ramirez is the Satan worshiper who now sits on California's death row after being convicted of 13 brutal murders. Ramirez often left satanic symbols at the scenes of his crimes, carving a pentagram on the body of one victim and on the bedroom wall of another. In his formal statement to the court at his death sentence hearing, Ramirez said, quote, "Legions of the night, I will be avenged. Lucifer dwells within us all."
That's because he was a psychotic. Sorry, that's because he was psychotic.
I was about to say, he was freaking crazy as hell. Just because one crazy Satanist is killing in the name of Satan doesn't mean they all kill in the name of fucking Satan. It's just like saying one Christian who kills in the name of God is every Christian.
Yeah.
One thing I've always found funny, sorry, I hope I'm not interrupting.
That's right.
There was actually a documentary when people were actually documenting the Church of Satan, and the Church of Satan themselves gave evidence that they've reported people to the police who said that they'd be willing to kill or want to kill in the name of Satan.
Yeah.
So the Church of Satan and stuff that are willing to help the police, but none of these scare tactic movies actually bring that up.
Yeah. And then the other thing is like people like Richard Ramirez and other people like him, they incorporate this Satan into their, you know, into their weird world that they have going on in their minds. But they're not, I wouldn't even call them Satanists. What they're doing is they're like using this as part of their psychotic mindset. You know, it's not even real. It's like people who believe that they are Jesus Christ walking around, you know, or they believe that they are God. I mean, it's the same thing. It's like they believe that they are this. It doesn't make them that. So like if there was some kind of a psychotic who killed somebody and they said they were Jesus Christ, I wouldn't associate them as a Christian because they're psychotic. It's the same thing with people like Richard Ramirez. He claims to, you know, whatever, be like possessed by Satan or worship Satan or whatever, but he's not actually a Satanist. So I think that's a very important distinction to make.
former waiter Clifford St. Joseph was found guilty of murdering a man during an apparent satanic ritual. The victim's body had all the signs. A pentagram had been carved in his chest. The body had been drained of its blood. He'd been sexually abused, and one of his testicles had been cut off.
I think this is the case we heard before.
Yeah, but at the same time, how is cutting off a testicle count as satanic ritual anything?
Well, because they carved a pentagram. Right.
That was like the only thing that sounded like it was something something to throw people off. And at the same time, there's quite a few murderers who drain the blood of the body to dispose of the body easier.
Yeah. Is that did they say the guy's name? Was it Clifford?
Clifford Saint something.
Yeah, St. Joseph, because he was the guy we saw last time. I'm just wondering, is that the guy?
I think this is another person.
Okay, all right.
Florida, Frank Houston and his wife were convicted of ritually abusing children at the daycare center they operated in their home. Children at the center said the Fusters made them drink urine, eat feces, and engage in sex acts during preschool games.
Okay, that just makes them sound like horrible caretakers.
I think, is this the Presidio?
This is one in Florida.
Can you hit J? Back it up. Yeah, probably there.
Yeah.
In Dade County, Florida, Frank Fuster and his wife were convicted of ritually abusing children at the daycare center they operated in their home. Children at the center said the Fusters made them drink urine, eat feces, and engage in sex acts during preschool games. The case horrified the community, and the prosecutor called the Fusters' systematic abuse of the children, quote, outrageous. And in the longest trial in American history, children who attended the McMartin Preschool in Manhattan Beach, California, told of seeing teachers in dark robes, watching small animals killed, playing sexual games, drinking blood, and eating feces. In a trial that many say was botched, none of the defendants was found guilty. But 7 of the 12 jurors said they believed the children had been abused. And virtually every expert familiar with the case believes a satanic cult was operating out of the school.
As far as I know, anybody in their right mind would just know, no, these kids were lying. They even came forward with that.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did come forward later on. The lady, what was her name? Judy. I think it was Judy Johnson. She was going through a divorce, and the young girl who had brought her young boy or young girl, I forget who it was, who brought. I think it was a young girl who brought the allegations forward, and Judy Johnson, who was already, she was an alcoholic, and she was suffering from schizophrenia. She believed her kid, and so these outrageous stories were told, and then other parents really began to believe their kids. I mean, come on, if you're a parent and your kid says that some teacher or something touched her or touched him in an inappropriate manner, you would probably believe your kid. I mean, you just would. You would automatically want to defend your child. But this was at the behest of Judy Johnson, and the whole thing was just a media circus. And these parents really believed that these kids actually suffered this abuse. I mean, they even went into the backyard of the school, and they dug it up because there were supposed to be these tunnels where all this stuff had happened, and there just wasn't enough evidence to convict these people. And the parents were absolutely convinced, absolutely 100% convinced that their kids were telling the truth. And so they even had an archaeological team come in and dig up, and they never found these tunnels. And there was no evidence, and all of it just began to fall apart. But, it's just, that's what this Believe the Children campaign came about, because people just believed the children, and that was it. The children don't always tell. They don't understand if they tell a little lie or they tell something that they think parents want to hear, they don't quite understand the ramifications of what this actually means. And the stuff that they had said was just outrageous. They said that they were flushed down toilets, and the toilets would empty them into this room that was supposed to be underground, that they actually saw like witches flying on brooms, that they were flown out to some house in the hills and molested, and there was this cavern of this. I mean, it was just incredibly elaborate, all these things that these kids said, but examining them, none of them showed any signs of sexual abuse, sexual penetration, or anything like that.
Of all the crimes committed in the name of Satan, the most heartbreaking involved children. For young victims of Satanism, the joy of childhood gives way to pain, darkness, and fear. Sometimes that pain comes from strangers, sometimes from their own families. We've talked with a number of adults who tell stories of being raised in families where satanic rituals were part of everyday life. Many adult survivors, their childhoods were filled with torture, sexual abuse, cannibalism, and murder.
I was forced to help kill other children. I was forced to participate in their cannibalism.
Esther grew up on the East Coast.
So that's
She lived
she's an
thousands of miles.
accessory to a crime.
I was about to say,
Yeah.
if she really did do all this stuff as a child, one, she could probably still get away with it being an adult now, and the fact that she was a child forced to do it. But she should have came forward sooner, and she needs to produce more proof than just saying, I did this. There's a lot of things that needs to be proven instead of just claiming.
Yeah,
But
and I don't know the statutes of limitations on certain crimes, but there's some crimes, well, like murder, I believe, that there is no statutes of limitations. So if you,
sorry.
That's all right. Did you have some other information?
No, I was just going to say there's no statute of limitation on a crime, on murder.
Okay,
You
yeah,
can
yeah.
charge
So,
at any time.
yeah, but I mean, like, I don't know about other crimes. I think rape is actually one of the ones that they recently repealed, that there was no statutes of limitations on it. But yeah, pretty serious crimes like cannibalism, I'm pretty sure there's no statute of limitations on, especially if it led to murder. So, you know, even if you supposedly had a repressed memory or whatever, like, you know, 50 years later, you believe that something happened and you bring it to the police, they can open up the case and investigate it. So I'm pretty sure about that. If anybody has information to the contrary, they can let us know, but I'm pretty sure of that.
My question for her is, did she feel like she absorbed the power of the person she ate? Did she feel more powerful, or is that just a myth?
I don't know. Maybe it makes you a little gassy.
Well, I'm just speaking because I'm having my first satanic human sacrifice / cannibalism this Halloween, and I want to know what to expect. That's all.
Because as long as it's a virgin, I think you'll be all right.
What age group again? I can't remember from the last video. I'm totally new at this. Sorry.
Oh shoot! Yeah, I'll send you the PDF of. I think it's age 7 to 27. I think.
You guys are horrible. I love it.
Miles away, but her childhood memories of bizarre satanic rituals remain. In the outside world, her parents were active members of their community, involved in church, school, and organizations like Little League and Girl Scouts. But on the inside, behind closed doors, they and other members of their satanic cult forced Esther to endure repeated ritualistic attacks on her body and her mind.
There was a circle, and I was put in the middle of the circle, and there was a fire around me. During that part, I was told I was being married to Satan and being a child of Satan forever, that kind of stuff. And then I was pulled out to the front of the circle beyond the fire, and then raped by the men in the cult?
Most vividly, I recall about torture. I remember a lot of it very vividly. Being tied hand and foot and burned on my genitals.
Karen grew up across the country from Esther. Her parents were also well regarded in their community, but they too led a dark and secret life from which Karen is still struggling to recover. Today, she edits a national newsletter for other survivors of satanic cults. Karen's abuse was so extreme, she often passed out from internal hemorrhaging and pain. She remembers being raped by cult members, shut away for hours in a dark, scary place.
It was actually a closet in a welded wire cage, and the bottom of the cage would be open. That would be how it would be put in it and suspended in a closet. And it was a very simple thing that they did. They just set a board inside the door and then dumped a bunch of snakes in on the floor, which I could see. They were probably even harmless snakes. But I was a child, and then they shut the door and left me in there in the dark, and I could hear it.
I was forced to eat human waste, yes.
Christy also suffered horrible abuse at the hands of her family and their satanic cult. Even as a toddler, Christy says her parents forced her to participate in gruesome rituals, drinking blood, eating feces, and killing children. Christy finally
Can you just pause it for a second?
and underwent years.
She just said that she remembers stuff from being a toddler, and then he listed all that stuff. How does that make any sense? Like feces, blood, and killing children as a toddler.
I don't know.
It doesn't make any sense.
Like, if you're gonna lie to me, at least keep it constant, not like this whole dumbfounded stuff.
Yeah, well, a lot of these are based off of the Michelle remembers, this belief that you had these suppressed memories, and whatever you imagined happened as something that actually happened. I mean, I don't know what it is, why these people do these things, if it's some kind of like they do it for ego or what they really do it for, you know? But a lot of these people began to like suddenly all of a sudden come out of the woodwork, right? When they wrote that book, Michelle Remembers. But I mean, it's just so ridiculous. I don't want to, I mean, no offense to all these people, but I want to hear a police investigation. I want to hear like actual stuff that happened. Like during an investigation, they found, you know, such and such. They found this chamber beneath this house. They found this pentagram. They found, you know, this closet where they threw all these snakes and she was forced to eat. I mean, this is what I want to hear. I don't want to hear this, you know, I believe when I was a toddler that such and such happened. Because, you know, actually, fuck it, I don't want to be respectful. I don't fucking believe them. You know,
I was about to say, I don't believe a damn word half these people are saying. If any of that stuff really did happen and they had proof of it, then there is a lot of things that should have went on by now, should have been brought to justice by now, or should have been actually looked into. And I want to actually hear from their parents if their parents are still alive. But the kids would just say, "Oh, they're lying about it. I'm pretty sure their parents are like, no, we're not. Our fucking kid needs mental help."
yeah, because even if they like, let's say they drew a pentagram like with chalk on a cement floor, there would still be evidence of it. You know, with the technology that they had, even at this time, they could go in and find, you know, microscopic elements of chalk or whatever. You know, they can forensic scientists can go in there and find the smallest clues to put things together to prove that such and such happened. None of that I've ever heard. None of that I've ever seen. None of it I've ever read. And I haven't done, you know, a great deal of research, but I've done, you know, preliminary research for the videos that I do on a lot of the stuff, but I've never come across anything like that.
Yes, Dorian?
Oh no, it's just funny that nowadays there's all this research that an individual can do, but by the time this video came out, this might be the only research that some people will do. So
True.
it's just ironic that back in the day, someone would look at this and then boom, that's their whole opinion right there. So that's why I kind of laughed a little bit. So
Yeah, and sadly, that's pretty much the case. Like, people will watch a video like this, or they'll listen to somebody like Now You See TV or Bill Schnoblin, and they'll just run with it. They'll just assume, oh, they trust him. You know, oh, why would he lie about it? You know, and they'll just run with it and trust him. And you know, that's it. That's all the evidence that they need.
well, I even watched a YouTube video about how fake news spreads so quickly. It just takes one person that you trust for them to share something that's not true, but because they shared it and you trust them, then you'll trust that source too. So
Years of therapy. Now she can talk calmly about the years of abuse she suffered at the hands of her Satan-worshipping parents.
I remember being drug out of bed at midnight and taken to this dark cemetery where they would have rituals going on, satanic services, various things, and there'd be people chanting and the black robes. And I remember one of the first experiences as a teenager where I watched them sacrifice a little boy, and he was blonde hair, blue eyes, just this beautiful little boy, and he was about 5 years old. And he was groomed for this. And they constantly said to him, don't cry, don't cry. This is what you were born. I did find myself screaming out at the injustice of it. And the high priest at one point came out over and tried to shut me up. And I said to him, God's going to get you for this. And he took me from the tree where I had been tied to observe and put me in a pit. And in this pit, there were the remains of human sacrifices, of babies, families, and snakes that they used.
So okay, so this was in a cemetery, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. And so all of this was going on in a cemetery. There's nobody else around. I guess they did it at night, right? Of course, under a full moon, because that's the way you do it, dress in black robes and everybody's carrying torches. So there was nobody around to witness this. She didn't take the police there later on to find the bodies of these human sacrifices. I mean, this stuff just starts to break down. I mean, come on. When, you know, you can't. All right, you know what? I'm just going to shut up.
No, we understand what you mean. I'm totally with you. If this really did happen, why hasn't she taken them there to show the proof? Why isn't she showing actual proof of this? Why is she just saying that, oh, it's there, and if you go there now, oh, it's not there anymore because they moved it?
Yeah, I just want to reach the screen and just slap her.
I'm
Well,
kind
it's the
of
same-
with you on that.
Just slap some sense into her, like, shut up, lady.
Well, it's the same reason why Satan put dinosaur bones around, just to confuse people, you know, just throw people off.
Damn,
So if you can
that
do
Satan.
that, of course you can remove a mass grave. So
Yeah, that's true. What was I thinking?
In various ceremonies. And in this pit, they put a cover over it and left me there for quite some time. I'm not sure how long. I lost track of time. I no longer knew when it was daylight or when it was dark because of the covering. And every so often they'd come and just take the covering off and just stand at the top of this pit and taunt me, where's your God now? And they threw human flesh, baby flesh down. And that's what I was to survive, if I was to survive. They made it to be like it was a great privilege to eat the bodies. I mean, the girl that I had to kill, they treated me like I was being given a great gift when they gave me a part of her body that I had to eat. I remember being horrified, but knowing that my horror was not let me survive, and that I had to put my horror somewhere else. The same thing happened when I had to have oral sex with a bunch of dogs. You know, that what they were doing was they were cutting out.
Wait, hold on a second. Oral sex with a bunch of dogs? Did I hear that right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what she said. And then she's
What?
saying something about they cut off the dog's junk, and then I paused it.
So she, okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure that I heard it right. Okay, thanks.
And then I do have oral sex to bring out the so that they could cut them off. And I had to do that. And I know that there were at least 12 dogs in there. There might have been more. I mean, I never really stopped to count. I just remember that there were a lot of them. And, you know, I couldn't have any reaction, and I couldn't go throw up and wash myself and all those things I wanted to do because I would be punished or killed. They threatened me constantly with loss of life, my own life, the lives of others. I watched them take the lives of children. I watched them take the life of my twin brother when we were just 4. I watched them kill animals. And then as I grew up, the threats became a little bit more subtle. It was always just don't talk. And that was real hard to deal with, you know, because people say, well, why didn't you ever say anything? Well, when you have such vivid memories of seeing your brother die, then you know not to talk.
Yeah, I wish it had never happened. I wish it never happened to anybody. I wish the losses have been tremendous. The pain has been overwhelming. The struggle has been a lifetime of struggle.
The incredible stories told by survivors come out in words and in the artwork they create. Sometimes the art is done as part of therapy. Sometimes it occurs during a private moment when a survivor tries to make sense of what's happened. These drawings by survivors from all over the country reflect similar memories of torture and rape at the hands of satanic cults. Baby killing, ritualistic rape, cannibalism. It seems like the stuff of supermarket tabloids or trash TV. We could dismiss all of this easily, except for so many similar stories told by so many survivors. The reality of Satanism is even more believable when you talk to reputable therapists like those here at Columbine Hospital in Denver, Colorado. They believe the survivors are telling the truth. Linda Young is a psychiatric nurse who works with adult survivors of satanic cults. Her goal is to help them move beyond the trauma of their experiences into healthy, happy lives.
Most of these people come to us thinking what's happened to them isn't true. They don't want it to be true. So they go back and forth. We call it the true, not true experience. When they're in a memory, they know it's true. And then they let the emotion out, and it's very true. And then the emotion goes away, and they say, oh, maybe it didn't happen. So that letting the world know that it's true, many of them know that that will never happen, or it's a very good possibility in our lifetime that most people will not ever begin to believe that this is really going on. It's very important for them that they know that I believe them, that I know this happened to them, that I have no doubt that this happened to them.
All right, this is one where we have backward writing.
Dr. Walter Young is head of the unit that treats adult survivors at Columbine, one of the few inpatient units in the entire United States. Dr. Young has treated or consulted on about 100 such cases. Today, he receives referrals from therapists throughout the country.
I guess the thing that's most compelling to me as a clinician, is to hear reports from a variety of patients who do not have contact with each other, who report very similar stories, and stories which are shocking and alarming about murder and sacrifice of human beings, cannibalism, sexual promiscuity, in what appears to be a very ritualized, planned setting, using not only children, both boys and girls, but adults as well. We also hear similarities in reporting of being buried alive and then being unearthed and told that they've been reborn in the name of Satan. We have stories of people being married to Satan in marriage ceremonies. There are repeated reports of serial sexual assaults with the impregnation of a young adolescent and the destruction of that child, often by the mother itself, in the name of Satan. More recently, we're beginning to hear more specific techniques of indoctrination and torture. Torture is very frequently used to one, strengthen the individual to maintain secrecy within the cult, that is intimidation. It's also considered something to be desired by cult, that is the toleration of pain, the mixing of pain and sexual experiences and blurring the boundaries between them. But it's, quote, to make a good soldier for Satan.
What we are dealing with at this point, in my belief anyway, is a well-organized religious and cult-based group that is widespread.
Myra Riddell is a private therapist and the driving force behind the ritual abuse task force of...
You know, I kind of want to talk to some of these therapists today to find out if they have changed their minds on what all happened. Because a lot of people are very talented liars. And I just want to know if those therapists still believe to this day that that stuff really happened to those people.
Well, I think it definitely led to a new understanding of how to interview, especially children, as soon as crimes are involved. Like if you interview an adult and you say, okay, well, tell us what happened. What did you see? And usually what happens is that people remember certain things. Like if you have 10 people who witness a crime, you will get wide range of what people actually saw, depending upon what angle they were at, what they focused on, or whatever. So then you'd have to go through and see, okay, well, where are the similarities between this? But with kids, it's like it's a whole nother thing. They just kind of like they'll just like start going off on stuff like, yeah, because we were brought into this room and you know they brought in a cat, then they killed. I mean, their stories will just kind of like just start going off on a tangent, and that's what they discovered with a lot of these kids. But when you're interviewing a child who actually, and I'm getting this from the Cult Watch, which was a 1992 FBI report on satanic ritual abuse or supposed satanic ritual abuse. But if a child is exposed to an environment where they don't quite understand what is happening, like if they are actually being sexually assaulted, the way that they will describe it is that they don't quite understand certain things. And so that's how the therapist can actually pick up on like, okay, they don't quite understand what is happening, but this is happening to them. Whereas a lot of these stories, these therapists, they just like listen to these people telling these stories and they just believe it. And now, I mean, obviously they're talking about adults, not kids, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just a lot of these stories, it's just like, I don't know. I think that these therapists just believed it. You know, they just believed that it happened because why would another adult lie to you? You know?
Yeah.
So, sorry, I went off on a tangent there.
Oh, no, it's perfectly fine.
For the Los Angeles County Women's Commission. Experts like Riddell are convinced Satanists can be found at every level of society. They are also convinced that the number of practicing Satanists is growing. According to Riddell, it's hard to get accurate information on satanic cults because they exert almost total control over their members and their young victims.
And they're infiltrated in everything, the government, NASA, FBI, CIA, every police organization.
We rule everything. Don't you people know
Yes.
this? And yes, Star Dancer, cops and therapists back then were really, really gullible. And that's the sad part. But you got to also remember this is the late 80s, early 90s when all this was going on, to where some people just couldn't fathom why others would lie about something this horrific. Nowadays, you hear somebody say this and you're like, oh, dude, you're full of shit. Where's the hard evidence? Back then, it was, oh my God, they have to be telling the truth. Who would ever lie about something this horrendous? So times have really changed from believe everything to show me the proof.
One is for rituals to go on with the complete cooperation of the individual who is being sacrificed in whatever way, whether it's being killed or burned or sexually used for the ritual purposes. And the other is one that concerns many of us a great deal, and that is that these kids who are being this brainwashed are being inculcated into a belief in Satanism on a very basic unconscious level. We, in fact, and they, in fact, are trying to raise a whole generation of Satanists.
In the past, satanic cults have maintained their membership by raising their own children within the cult. Now experts see an alarming new trend. Survivors say that satanic groups are establishing preschools and daycare centers for the sole purpose of recruiting vast numbers of small children.
We are hearing from those
Can you pause for a second?
that there is a...
That would be the worst way to start. Those children would go to their parents, go to the authorities, go to other people and let them know, yo, this is happening. This makes me feel uncomfortable. This is weird. The best way to go is probably maybe college or university to get more members. So either these satanic cults are really lacking or they're just pedophiles pretending to be Satanists.
Yeah, really.
Deliberate and concerted and well-organized, well-orchestrated effort to infiltrate the preschool system.
And here's the spy shark.
Psychologist Catherine Gould is known nationally for her work in treating ritually abused children. She's deeply disturbed that Satanists are preying on children at such an early age.
The purpose is to achieve an indoctrination at an early formative age, when a child is going to be most susceptible to being emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually hooked to the cult and hooked for life. The idea is that you get the child under the age of 6, you abuse them, you indoctrinate them, you use them for cult purposes, you break them down, you strip them of any sense of free will, you strip them of any sense of connectedness to family or to the positive parts of society, and you have somebody who functions for the purposes of the cult. And the idea there, of course, is that the cult can call upon that person later in life.
Doreen Kenny is one parent who suspects that her daughter was the victim of satanic abuse at a preschool in Southern California.
She had stomach aches. She had headaches. She would complain about various limbs hurting her. I mean, screaming with pain, just absolutely screaming with pain. Night terrors, just horrible, horrible night terrors. She regressed from a 3-year-old to a 2-year-old, and she was back in diapers. Finally, one day after being in school about 6 months, a little over 6 months, she had told my oldest daughter she was poked. And once that came out, I knew, because of all the things that had been going on, I just knew in my heart that she had been molested.
At first, Kenny assumed her daughter was the victim of sexual abuse, and she placed the little girl in therapy. Over many months, however, the real story began to unfold. Kenny discovered that her daughter had been subjected to various forms of sexual and ritualistic abuse that paralleled activities common to satanic cults. 6 years later, her daughter is still haunted by fear.
The most frightening stuff that is still with her is she believes she's being watched. Every red car and black car that goes by is watching her. Every lady that dresses in blue
are kidnappers. They will kidnap kids. These are things that she's been told.
Oh, wow, I better not wear blue anymore.
Or drive a black car or a red car.
Yeah, I mean, dear Lord, that's just like a blanket thing right there. Oh, if you wear blue, you're going to kidnap kids. What if they just like fucking blue?
My laptop desktop right now is blue. Does that mean I am also about to go kidnap some kids?
Maybe.
Yep. Well, hey, I'm not making the stuff up, Doreen. She's saying it right here. Okay. Blue. So you're obviously a satanic pedophile.
Oh man, my Christian Bible's blue too. Damn it.
Oh wow. Well, that's heretical. See, because Satanists, they like to reverse stuff, so that's why.
Okay.
Yep.
Now I know. Thank goodness this girl's on here telling her story. Oh, I don't know what I would have done.
Well, it's her mom, not the girl herself.
She had at one point, and as she continues in therapy, gets better and better, but at one point believed very much so that she was a child of Satan, and that she actually had Satan's heart put into her. She still has trouble with that when you get palpitations, that her heart's going to explode, that because she's told.
Dr. Roland Summit is a psychiatrist who treats child ritual abuse victims at Harbor UCLA Medical Center. He says many satanic cults use intimidation, fear, and even drugs to make children keep quiet.
Children report being given drugs, which makes them feel sleepy, makes them forget. They're told they're going to have an operation. When they regain consciousness, they have what looks like a scar, which disappears, kind of a scratch on their skin. And they're told that something has been implanted inside of them. It may be a bomb, maybe the part of an animal that's been killed. And that will know if they're thinking about telling, and it will become armed and it will destroy them. So when children think about telling, when they get nervous, there's a throbbing in their head, which they interpret as the bomb ready to go off, or a churning in their stomach, which may be the dog chewing at them. And from a child's point of view, they are now booby-trapped against telling.
It seems that Satanists will use all sorts of elaborate and insidious schemes to keep their young victims under control. Consider the case of Ed Geller, a Protestant minister, his wife Mary Lou, and their son Chip. All three were convicted of sexually abusing children at the two preschools they operated in Roseburg, Oregon. The children told stories of ritualistic animal killings and sexual abuse with carrots, bottles, and sticks. Judge William Laswell, who prosecuted the Gallups when he was a district attorney, says the family intimidated their young victims by saying they had magic glasses capable of seeing into the children's homes.
Chip, the youngest of the Gallups, had a pair of magic glasses, which is simply an oversized set of sunglasses you would buy at a carnival. The mother had a set too, and the father. And the children told us that Chip Gallup would get up on the stage, put the glasses on, turn in the direction of where the child lived, and then make some observation about whether the child finished breakfast, put away his pajamas, left some tracks on the carpet. What would have happened is that Chip would have called the family and learned something about what happened that morning. And so when Chip told them that he could see into their home and tell them something that they knew had happened, they believed that he in fact could see them and hear them wherever they were. And he had threatened to kill their parents and harm them if they talked. In addition, he'd given them, most of them, a photograph of himself, which he asked to have displayed in their bedroom so that he was always looking at them that way too.
So when the police, hold on. So when the police, I assume, because there was an actual trial that went on, when the investigation went, they actually found photographs of this person in all these homes, right?
Apparently.
But they're not saying anything about that. I mean, wouldn't that be like the key? Wouldn't that be a key? I mean, it doesn't really mean anything except that this guy was weird and gave people photographs of himself. But I mean, it would have been one piece of evidence that they see. This is what bothers me the most about this particular video, is it's all just people talking and saying, oh, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. But they're not actually like giving any actual evidence for anything. They're just like saying this stuff happened. I mean, at least the one video we saw, you know, we were talking to people who were police investigators, and they were actually sharing crimes and what had happened, and they were at least showing us something. But these people, they're not doing anything. They're just throwing out these accusations, these claims that I experienced this, you know, I was a witness to a murder. But there's no follow-up like, and the trial went this way, and the investigation led this way. And also, by the way, Bob Larson today is running around with 2 teenage girls, and they're like the trio of exorcists. And they charge people, I forget how much it is. I think it's like $300 or $500 to do exorcisms online via Skype.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and he has these 2 rather attractive young women who he runs around with doing exorcisms, and it's obviously just bullshit scheme, you know. He just has these attractive girls, and I don't know what the hell they do, but you know, he's just hoping that maybe because he has a couple of attractive girls on him that people will pay him money to be exorcised by him.
All right, so Heathen is now doing a Kickstarter. We need about $300. The description, or the link will be in the description below. Please spend as much as you can.
Yep, and Doreen will personally come and exorcise a demon out of you.
Results may not be as advertised, so.
Yeah, right, exactly. Your experience may vary. Slightly.
God, exorcisms over Skype. That is, oh, dear Lord. I've heard you can do a lot of things over Skype, but exorcisms? How are you going to dump the holy water on the person? Are they going to have to dump it on themselves? And if they're dumping it on themselves, I'm sure they're not possessed.
Well, apparently all you have to do is just repeat, like, you know, the certain prayers from the Bible, and that's it. I mean, didn't you see that exorcism video that I did?
Oh yeah.
From Chris LaSala. But okay, so Chris LaSala, he does exorcisms via Skype. Bob Larson does exorcisms via Skype, which, by the way, he will not let you. He'll make you sign a waiver before it, saying that you will not record it, and if you do, he will sue you.
Oh, man.
I know, exactly.
That'd be the whole reason why I'd want him there.
Yeah, right, exactly, so you can record it. So Bob Larson does it, and I think there's one other person, I can't remember who, but there's at least 3 people out there who are doing live exorcisms via Skype, and they charge money for it.
You know, I would probably sign the waiver in a fake name and record it anyways, and then totally put it up there and say that somebody had and if I was getting sued, I would just say, somebody, that's not my signature. I never signed anything.
Here's exactly what you do. You create a throwaway account on Reddit, you post it on there, people download it, and then you delete it. Delete your account. Then it's out there. It's like, this person love handles 567 posted this video, and then boom.
Big Daddy 69. Yeah, but yeah. Well, all right. Well, if somebody wants to do that, go for it.
I'm not spending that much money. Fuck that.
In the name of Satan are beginning to receive special attention by police officials. Several departments have established occult crime units and are learning to spot the evidence of satanic activity. A number of investigators are working to uncover the links between survivor stories and existing cults. Others are looking into the possibility of a national or international conspiracy involving satanic groups. There's much to be learned, and law enforcement officials are just beginning to scratch the surface. But across the country, police investigators agree a disturbing trend is emerging. The most Vicious crimes being committed in the name of Satan are being perpetrated by young people in their teens. Pete Rowland and 2 other members of his satanic cult clubbed a 4th boy to death in the woods of rural Missouri. The group had been practicing satanic rites for years, torturing so many animals to death they lost count of the number. They were obsessed with satanic books, gory movies, and heavy metal music. After the brutal murder, Rowland said songs by the rock group Metallica drove him and his friends into a frenzy as they planned the attack. Eddie Krigler, an Arkansas youth, claimed he was acting under direct orders from Satan when he beat his parents with a 5-foot club, then stabbed them repeatedly with the same butcher knives he used to perform satanic rites. At the time of the attack, Krigler was recruiting other teenagers to form a satanic cult. In New Jersey, 14-year-old Tommy Sullivan stabbed his mother a dozen times with his Boy Scout knife. After that, Sullivan slit his own throat. Just weeks before the attack, he told a friend that Satan appeared to him in a vision, ordering him to kill his family. For Ricky Casso, involvement in Satanism led to murder and suicide. Casso and his friends formed a
that guy
cult
looks
called
psychotic.
Knights of the Black Serpent.
I was about to say, just because people say, well, I'm satanic, doesn't mean that they're actually part of the Church of Satan or actually a Satanist.
Yeah.
One night, they turned on another teen, Gary Lowers, forced him to say, "I love Satan," gouged out his eyes before stabbing him to death. The day after he was arraigned, Casso hanged himself with a bedsheet.
Satanism is on the rise, and it is the crime of the 90s.
Randy Eman is a police officer who spends much of his time investigating crimes that have links to the occult. Eman believes the lure of Satanism is too powerful for many young people to resist.
The danger of Satanism in the occult society, I liken to a narcotic that's addictive. It's power they're seeking. And when they find out that they toyed with a ritual, and that ritual worked, they're hooked. It's just like the hook in the side of the mouth as a fish. It takes them one step further, and pretty soon the hook is not on the side of the mouth. They have swallowed it completely. And it is a magnet, and it is a magnet that they can't go away from. It just draws them further and further and further. And pretty soon, they're not going with just lightweight rituals. They're graduating from candle rituals to wearing the costumes, the regalia with the ritual swords. They're going to the black hoods, the animal sacrifices, and where may that take them? To human sacrifice.
And paganism is the ritual, is the gateway drug. So you start listening to heavy metal music, you start playing D&D, you start smoking a little bit of reefer, you get into paganism, next thing you know, you're out killing people for Satan. It happens all the time, every single day. It's terrible. Somebody should put a stop to it.
Remember, kids, just say no.
Just say no to Satan, drugs, and paganism. Say yes to the Bible.
Yes.
Oh, God, I just smell bullshit.
That's how far Sean Sellers went. Today, Sean is in solitary confinement on death row at the Oklahoma State Penitentiary. Sean was just 15 years old when he was tried, convicted, and sentenced to death for 3 cold-blooded murders, including that of his mother and stepfather. Murders he committed in the name of Satan.
I was mad at my parents. I was doing destruction rituals. You know, saying, Satan, kill him, get him out of my life. I tried to move out. They came and got me, wouldn't let me move out. And it just built to a point where I did it. I had this dream over and over again. And I'd kill my parents, you know, the fact that I'd sacrificed them to Satan in my dream. And like I said before, I woke up and it wasn't a dream. You know, it was reality. It really happened.
The murders took place in this house, in a well-kept Oklahoma City suburb where Sean and his parents lived. On the night of March 6, 1986, dressed in black underwear and a black hooded cape, Sean tiptoed into his parents' bedroom as they slept, pulled out a .44 Magnum revolver, shot them both in the head. Later, he went back to their room, looked at the dead bodies, and laughed. What could have driven a young man to such violence?
He was crazy. End of story. And he's blaming it on Satan.
On the outside, they looked like a happy family, but the real story was different. From early childhood on, Sean was shuttled from relative to relative, or left with babysitters. At 10, one of those sitters introduced him to Satanism. Sean was hooked. By the time he was in high school, Satanism dominated his life. He formed a satanic coven with a group of his friends, kept a satanic diary, and illustrated it with satanic symbols. He built an altar in his bedroom where he performed secret ceremonies. He wrote incantations to Satan, sometimes in his own blood, and he drank his blood regularly.
I began to drink blood because it gave me a rush, it gave me a thrill. You know, it was like, wow, I'm drinking blood. You know? And then I began to like it. You know, the taste of it, I liked the taste of it. It was a very strange taste.
So I'm going to say something. I'm going to say something that's probably going to piss a lot of people off, and I really don't give a fuck. But if you are getting to the point where you're beginning to drink your own blood, you probably want to start rethinking your whole path and what you're doing. Anybody can take the occult and twist it around into something bizarre. And I've actually come across people who've been interviewed on channels and they're believe themselves to be vampires and they're drinking blood. And I have talked with some people who practice the occult who get into some really stupid stuff. If you're doing this, if you're going down this path, you are no longer practicing anything that is actually part of the occult. You are now doing something psychotic. There's no ritual. There's nothing that says that requires anyone to drink blood, let alone their own blood. I know people like to be edgy and have skulls and use their blood in rituals and all that stuff. And yeah, that makes you really cool, dark, and edgy. And yeah, I know you're one of those witches that will hex anybody. But you're crossing a line. You're becoming psychotic. You're losing touch with reality. All occultists need to understand that there are 4 pillars. There's 4 elements. There are 4 things that you need to understand. One of them is you need to stay earthed and you need to understand what you're doing. And it's ridiculous that these people believe that this stuff actually gives them some kind of power or enhances their spells. It doesn't. It does not enhance your spells. The only thing that enhances your spells is your dedication and your willpower in the spells. Drinking blood, sacrificing animals, and all this other edgy stuff doesn't do jack shit for you. So fuck you and throw hate my way. I don't care.
I actually agree with you. You're 100% right. I mean, I have to also agree with other people in the chat. If you're starting to drink your own blood, if you're starting to enjoy it, you may need to go seek help from a professional. You need to stop and realize that there's something mentally wrong with you. I have nothing against being part of the occult or anything like that, but I agree. It's only when people want to be edgy that they do this stuff and admit to it. And normally it's people just saying, oh, well, I did this. And you're sitting there going, yeah, you really did. And yet you gag at the smell of blood. But it's one of those, I don't think anyone in their right mindset or anyone that I know that's a practicing witch, pagan, Wiccan, any of the, even Satanists that do that. I mean, I've talked to some of the people around Portland who are part of like the Vampire the Masquerade groups or part of the Vampire Underground there, and they even say they don't drink blood because they know that it is unhealthy for you. They just enjoy the dark, edgy lifestyle, and they just drink red wine or water with food coloring in it, claiming it's blood, because they know the difference of what your body can process and what it can't process. And also, they don't want to get sick because you sometimes can't really trust people. And it's just one of those, when the people are like, well, I really drink blood, others look at them and go, dude, you need to see a therapist. You need to go talk to somebody about this because there's something really wrong with you mentally.
Oh yeah, when I did that, my research into William Schnoblin saying he drank blood for his years or whatever, that much iron would not leave your body. So the more blood you drink, the more iron is being stuck inside you. Like, you're going to eventually become this big bloated blob if you're going to do it all the time. It's not healthy. Your body's not meant to ingest that much iron.
I mean, even with me with an iron deficiency, that can still kill my ass. So, but I just, if people did their actual research, they would find out that, yeah, this stuff is stupid and crazy, and you need to seek professional help if you're going down that road. But you'll have people who won't listen to it and do it anyways. And those are the idiots that end up dead in a mental institute or in jail for doing something as stupid as what he did.
Yeah. Yep.
Even at school, there were signs of Sean's deepening involvement in Satanism. When his teacher assigned an essay on how students had grown spiritually, Sean wrote about his dedication to the devil.
Okay, what school is saying you need to write about how you grow spiritually if it's not a Christian or Catholic school? Because I don't know any school who would allow that nowadays.
Yeah,
Even
it's
back
probably,
then.
yeah, it's probably from maybe early 80s, late 70s. But it is kind of ironic. I find it kind of funny that he in in rebellion wrote an essay on how much he loves Satan. I mean, aside from all the other stupid shit that he did, I find that funny.
I kind of do too.
Yeah,
I can actually relate to him on that one part. I went to a Catholic school and we had this nun as our religious teacher. And in grade 12, we got to learn about different religions around the world. So I did a giant presentation on Wicca just for a reaction from her. So I kind of can relate to that amount.
Yeah, but I kind of want to know what school he went to assign that, because if it was a public school, I have a hard time seeing that happening unless in the early 80s, late 70s they allowed it. I'm not sure, or even in the early 90s. I know my schools didn't allow it, and I was in a small freaking town where everyone was Christian.
It seems like everybody was seeing that something needed to be done, that something was going on, and they were taking steps towards that, but they were all afraid to call my parents or to sit me down or whatever and do something, to really make a commitment and do something, because maybe it was because they if it was, Satanism or something, that it was religious and we can't get involved in the religious thing or whatever.
Things continued to get worse until the night of September 8, 1985, when Sean and his friend Richard decided to undertake the ultimate satanic act.
We had decided we were going to break all the 10 Commandments to show Satan that we were completely dedicated to him. And we only had one more commandment to break, thou shalt not murder. And that's what that night was to be. That night was to be this sacrifice, get rid of these people who didn't matter anyway, who were in our way, who by the instructions in the Satanic Bible, said that they didn't deserve to live. They begged by their actions.
I want to know what Satanic Bible he's talking about, because Dorian, you have one. Does it even say that in it?
Well, it says if you're going to do something that dumb, prepared to be facing the consequences. It does not say, yeah, that person deserves to kill, so go kill them. It is heavily involved, like, the heavily implies that your actions will have a very, very equal reaction. So don't be a dumbass. Don't do that shit.
Yeah, and I think the Bible, the Satanic Bible, says something about, like, only treat people with respect who deserve it, and those who don't deserve it, there's no reason to treat them with respect. But I don't think they've ever said anything about, like, people deserve to die. That's not what they'll say. I mean, they'll say like, if your enemy, if you have an enemy and you want to destroy your enemy, then utterly destroy them. But you know, that's it. But people, yeah. But if people deserve respect, you know, like if you're in their, I forget exactly how he words it, but if you're in their lair, you treat them with respect. But if somebody mistreats you or doesn't treat you with respect, there's no reason to return the favor. Do you have the Bible near you, Dorian?
Oh, yeah, I got my library right next to me, so.
Oh, good. Does it say anything like that?
Sorry.
Yeah,
I'm done. Go ahead.
Well, even the Satanic Bible, it says, don't waste your time with people like that. So at worst, it's telling you don't associate with them. And at best, it's saying don't, like, let others know don't associate with them. So.
Yeah, it doesn't say to go out and kill. So wherever he was getting his information from, kind of screwed him over there.
Yeah, and I mean that's the Hollywood or the media interpretation of what Satanism is, that it's like the reverse of Christianity. So instead of following the 10 Commandments, you have to go and break the 10 Commandments. Instead of saying the Lord's Prayer, you have to say the Lord's Prayer backwards. So that's like the media interpretation of Satanism, but it's not like the actual Church of Satan, Satanism.
Yeah.
No, I'm looking through it right now, and I can't find anything about going out and murdering people.
Yeah, he got bad information. Way to go, Hollywood.
I wondered, so I am at the bottom of the American life, you know, I'm at the bottom. I am the most hated person in America. Death row inmates, nobody likes. Death row inmates have no hope. That's what Satanism is giving me.
George Berlanger was also seduced into Satanism as a teenager. Now he's 27, stable, married, and the father of a little girl. But his teen years grew violent as he became more and more deeply engulfed in satanic beliefs.
I was going to kill my parents at one point. I took knives and I started down the hall, and I was going to cut my parents up. And for some reason it stopped. I was very cold, very demanding, very physically violent to my parents. Very physically violent. I used to punch my dad out. I used to hit my mom. I mean, the whole night without any remorse at all. At this point, my parents were so afraid of me. They were afraid. They were afraid for their lives. They put a deadbolt lock on their door. That's how afraid they were. In their own house.
Like many other teenagers who become heavily involved in Satanism, George came from a troubled family. His father was an alcoholic who abused George and his mother. George took out his anger at school and was expelled at 16. After that, he became totally immersed in Satanism, obsessed with performing rituals, sacrificing animals, and drinking blood.
It is a communion to the devil. The way that you ritualistically take the blood, do the spells with the blood, and ingest the blood is doing a communion to Satan. And when you ingest the blood, it is to accumulate power.
It would be more comfortable to think the stories we've heard are fabricated, or the exploits of a lunatic fringe. But if we believe the experts, Satan worship is undeniably real, and Satan worshippers pose a serious threat to society's well-being. During this program, we've heard from many victims of Satanism. about tragic, alarming, and nearly fatal encounters with devil worship. We've listened to those who participated willingly and those who were victimized against their wills. We've heard reports of innocent children raised in a brutal environment of torture, and teenagers who were compelled to commit crimes and to kill in the name of Satan. All these accounts could make us question our fundamental faith in the decency and goodwill of humanity. But what we've seen should compel us to act responsibly and address the root causes of this terrible malevolence in our midst. Satanism thrives on secrecy. Its existence depends on concealment. That's why the bravery of the people you've listened to during this program is so phenomenal. They've spoken out, even under the threat of intimidation and death. Their courage comes from knowing that breaking the silence will save others from the anguish they endured or committed.
Hey, can you pause it for a second?
Yep.
So nobody's telling these people to remain silent. Okay, so unfortunately, there's so much crap here to unpack, but let's just cut. It's just obviously, okay, so we have these people who have these repressed memories who believe that this stuff happened, and that's all we have to go on. There was no other evidence that was introduced. That was just what they claim to have happened, and all of that involved small children, babies, animals, cannibalism, all these outrageous stuff. Then they had the other half where they had these teenagers who were doing these horrible things, killed their parents, did these things, and they associated it with Satanism, or somehow there was an association with Satanism. Neither one of the, well, except for the first part, supposedly there was some secrecy, but nobody in that second part said anything about that. They didn't say that they were involved in any kind of network of Satanists, or that they were even involved in any of these child sacrifices or these cannibalism or anything like that. They just believed that they were drinking blood and doing these things in the name of Satan. It's what they believe that they were doing. It's like psychotics. They believe that they're doing something for some reason, but it doesn't. Neither one of these are associated with each other, and none of this has anything to do with actual Satanism. And nobody was telling, especially that other part, the people who actually voluntarily said that they were doing this for Satan. None of them said or mentioned anything about being a part of a group or having to remain secret about anything. So that's all I want to say.
He's just blowing it out of proportion because he is blowing everything out of proportion. This guy is.
Yeah, maybe he's just jealous that he got kicked out of a cult and stuff like that. And is now like, well, I'm going to trash talk you. I don't need you guys anymore.
Okay, has anyone ever seen this symbol right here? I'm questioning that one.
Yeah, that's the blue oyster cult symbol.
Oh, and why does this look like Mickey Mouse?
I don't know. They have some weird, like this one looks like I don't know if it's supposed to be the hammer, the double hammer symbol, double axe head symbol.
Oh, that
you see it on Stonehenge. It's also Vikings possibly used it. Then you have the Ankh down here at an angle, the blue oyster cult. Then of course the pentagram. And then they also have Natus or Satan backwards. And I mean, just all this stuff is like stupid graffiti you'd see in like anywhere, especially back in the 70s and 80s when people were going around vandalizing. You'd see the Anarchy, the pentagram, blue oyster cult, whatever. You'd see all these crazy symbols.
Consistency in all these stories and the blunt honesty of those who have suffered so much. See beyond the atrocity of Satanism. Remember that many victims are still imprisoned by the fear that no one will help them. No one will believe them. The seduction of Satanism will end when you and I confront this national tragedy by marshaling the forces of our schools, churches, community organizations, law enforcement associations, and social agencies. We must expose all the evil being done in the name of Satan. I'm Bob Larson.
And it was all because I thought that Satanism would promote me. I thought that Satanism was the ideal of self-preservation and would make me successful, would make me the person that I wanted to be. That's the biggest lie that I've ever seen.
I really believe that survivors need to know that there's hope, that they can live through this. This is my truth as I know it. And I know that I didn't make it up because I know I was there. And I know that there will be people who will never believe it. It's very, very difficult to confront the reality of this because once you confront the reality of this, you feel such a tremendous sense of responsibility to do something.
Hey, look, there's a hotline, people.
Yay! Hey, go ahead and play this end part. I want to see what else they have.
Okay.
Thanks.
You getting all your notes down there, man?
Yeah, I guess I could look at this later. I was just curious what organizations were a part of this, or
I kind of still want to know as well what other organizations are.
okay.
All
Well,
I
there's
know
only
is
it's only 40 seconds to go, so okay.
Yeah, we have like 10 minutes after this where we can just talk about how bullshit all this is. I want to see if PBS pops up anywhere.
1990, Bob Larson.
Oh no, it was copyrighted. Oh no.
Dun 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 dun. So yeah, crazy. Yeah, Bob Larson's been he's been involved in this for a long time. He's quite the character. He had a radio show that was promoted by the Trinity Broadcasting Network, the TBN, not CBN, TBN, Trinity Broadcasting Network. And he had this radio talk show, and Satanists would call him up and just troll him. His radio station. It was hilarious.
I would too.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. That'd be fun.
Yeah. But the thing that really bothered me was those two elements, and none of them connected with the other one. You know what I mean? So like if there was this actual network of Satanists running around, you know, eating babies literally and throwing people into pits, and then you had essentially like lone wolves, these people who were committing these crimes, but there was no connection between the two. They were completely separate.
I mean, maybe these people really did think they were Satanists when they were doing it, but a lot of people in that community disowned them immediately. Like a lot of Christians disown anyone who's Christian and kills. So.
Well, I just like how they kept bringing up the Satanic Bible, but the Satanic Bible keeps bringing up "don't mess with kids."
Mm-hmm.
So I just found that really ironic.
Yeah.
Well, none of them have really read the Satanic Bible if they're saying, well, it says this in it. It's like, no, it doesn't, unless you have a different copy than the rest of the world.
Yeah. Man, the 80s was just all of that stuff. I mean, it would be interesting to find out about a lot of these stories, like you had mentioned earlier, Loki, to find out what people think of it now, looking back on it. But I mean, it was just like this panic. It just went through society, and these people were convinced that there was just like this satanic network, and everybody was a Satanist, and it just went up like levels and levels of, they believed that judges were sympathetic, police were sympathetic, they were hiding evidence and covering evidence, the FBI was involved. And then Michael Aquino got implicated because some kid pointed at him in the Presidio in San Francisco, and suddenly the military became involved, then the MK Ultra thing. And I mean, it just got insane. And you still have pockets of this today. But back then, I mean, rational people really ran around honestly believing that there was like this satanic network. Crazy.
That they did. And it's kind of sad because you look at it nowadays and you're like, this was back, for me, it was back when I was still a baby, because I was born in '86. So I grew up with some of the backlash in the 90s, but not as bad as back then.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you even look at some of the stuff from the 90s and some of the stuff that we got away with doing in school, or religions got away with doing in school. Nowadays, you would have riots from parents who are like, no, I don't believe in pushing this on my kid. You need to stop it. But yeah, it's just, I remember a kid got in trouble because they didn't want to say under God during the pledge when I was in elementary school. And they had a very valid point. They're like, my parents are atheists, so am I. Why do I want to say that?
Yep.
But he did bring up the original pledge, never had that in it until it was added in. And the teacher got mad, but had to let him say it how he wanted because he had a point.
Yep. And I think was it Eisenhower? I think it was under Eisenhower where they included the under God part. Yep. Yeah. And also the Bellamy Pledge was originally like the High Hitler one. But instead, I think they had like the poem like this instead of like that. They had
it
this.
was straight out like that.
Yeah. And so you see like these classrooms of all these kids like this, like pre World War II, and it's just like, oh my God, these are all Nazi kids. Exactly. But yeah, the history of the Pledge of Allegiance is interesting.
Yeah, and I remember at one point in time, my teacher in high school did get mad at me for not putting my hand on my heart. I was in ROTC. I was wearing my uniform. What we did during the pledge, if we were doing the Pledge of Allegiance with our class, if we were in uniform, we had to stand at attention. We didn't put our hand up. We stand at attention facing the flag, saying the pledge. And she was trying to say I was un-American. How dare I disrespect the uniform? Like, look up the uniform code. We either salute or stand at attention, woman.
Wow.
And even my dad talked with her about it because she tried to put me in all-day suspension for it.
Wow. She just didn't know, huh?
She refused to believe it, even when my sergeant came in there.
Wow. Nowadays, that would never happen.
Yeah. There are some people who are just so hardcore. You have to do it this way. You have to say it this way. It's like, no, you don't. Even when I would say it over the loudspeaker, I would not say under God. And I was never criticized for it, at least. Because our principal was heavenly Christian. He told me if I did not feel comfortable saying under God, I did not have to. And this was around the time I stopped being Mormon. So he had no problem with me saying it the way I wanted to say it.
Well, that was cool of him to do it that way.
because he also believed you needed to leave religion out of the school. He may have been a hardcore Christian, but he was one of the ones who went out there and yelled at the Christian club for getting in the doing their morning prayers around the flagpole when we were trying to put the flag up.
Yeah.
He was always our biggest supporter of it's religious freedom. You need to not be doing this on school grounds.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good. Yeah.
And this was early 2000s in California.
Yep. All right. Well, I want to make a quick announcement since so next week, Loki's going to be gone, so it's just going to be the guys. It's going to be me and Dorian, and so it's going to be pants optional. It's going to be a sausage fest. we're gonna burp, curse, and scratch ourselves inappropriately. But if anybody wants to join us and be a guest on Heathen Haven, please contact either Dorian, Loki, or myself, and we'll get you on. We'll get you on the show. So, looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, Ray's would be fun on here. I think Robert would be fun on here. Star Dancer, if you want to come and deal with these guys, please do.
I don't know. Star Dancer might not quite be ready for that swim in the deep pool yet.
Who knows? It might surprise you. I mean, I believe my Twitter's @Loki's Witch. I just am too lazy to look at it at the immediate moment. Because that's
and they could also leave a message below too, and we'll read it.
Yeah.
If you want to be a guest.
Hey, I love Raises said something.
What did Ray say?
I'd love to come on. Sorry.
Oh, okay. You were reading it. Cool. All right. Awesome. All right. So Rays will be our guest next week. Awesome.
Yay, Rays. You're taking my place for a week. Depending on what time I get home. If I get home before 9, I might randomly drop in on you guys.
No.
To make sure you're behaving.
No, not allowed.
You never know. I could do it from my cell phone too.
Ooh. she'll sneak in the chat.
I may. I just may. Or I'll enjoy the yummy Thai food I'm getting for helping demo a convention setup afterwards.
Yeah, and then next week we should make sure that we have because it's going to be the 29th, so maybe we should take a look and see if we can get a super spooky Halloween video or two.
You guys need to do a Halloween video.
Yes. So we'll have our Halloween special. Maybe we'll even do a chick track.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yes, that would be fun.
Damn, you didn't know the fun stuff while I'm gone. Oh well.
That's the way we roll, Loki. So, you know.
That is why we're not advertiser friendly.
Yeah, that's why we're not.
Oh, I mean, honestly, I would not trade this convention for anything. I love going. I love being a part of it, and I love dressing up like a freaking nerd. So if I do pop on, I promise you, I will be in costume, just because I can.
Nice.
All right, guys. It is now 9 o'clock. So with all that, I believe we can wrap it all up and say our good nights and all that fun stuff. Don't do anything stupid this week.
Yes.
If you do, record it.
Have a good night, everybody.
All right. Blessed be all.
See you next week.